prevention and treatment of addictions, elder, child, and domestic abuse, lack of faith in the justice system, including police, courts, and prisons. Join us from 12:30 p.m. to share your hopes for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. The Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ministry of National Security brings you Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
The most influential name in sports. I-95.5 FM. This is News Center 5 Sports with Don Lee and Roxanne Gialdo. Cricket, football, boxing, athletics, hockey, tennis, swimming, and more. This is Sports with a Passion. Sports with excitement. Sport that goes beyond. Monday to Fridays, 12:20 p.m. and 6:20 p.m. and Saturdays, 12:20 p.m. Sport comes alive with Don Lee and Roxanne Gialdo. This is your station for real sports, locally and internationally. Whatever the sport, whatever the game, News Center 5 Sports provides the most comprehensive coverage. I-95.5 FM, the most influential name in sports.
On Mother's Day, Sunday, 11th May, bring your mothers and the entire family to the luxurious, specially decorated Cascadia Hotel Ballroom St. Anne's for a sumptuous Mother's Day buffet lunch and show. Coming to serenade the mothers live, the Caribbean Stars featuring Wendell McBurney, Patricia Smith, the sultry voice of superstar Sanel Dempster, and more, with a special area for dancing. A delightful buffet lunch will be served from 12 noon. Then, from 2 p.m., it's showtime. Admission by advance tickets only. Tickets $500. Available at Crosby St. James, Cascadia Hotel St. Anne's, Cache Port of Spain, Michel's Fashions Arima, Sion's Bar, and Bellini's Drug Mart San Fernando. And online at islandetickets.com. For those who didn't get tickets last time, be sure to get your tickets early for this Mother's Day, Sunday, 11th May at Cascadia Hotel Ballroom St. Anne's. When it's for mom, you do it right.
Come closer, let me give you some love.
This is more than jazz. This is Vibrations. The Experience. Saturday, May 3rd. Gates open from 5 p.m. We head to Sound Forge for culture, love, and artistry. Come and experience love and vibrations with Vaunted Bigford.
Set my soul on fire.
Freetown Collective. Jam to the beats of Charlotte Bailey, Joshua Regrello, and Kute. And sing along with Jaron Nuss and many more artists. Early bird tickets $300 are now available at Cache, In Excess, 519 Restaurant and Brindellas, or online at islandetickets.com or call 771-2470 for more info. Come and feel the energy. Vibrations. The Experience. Saturday, May 3rd. Sound Forge. See you there.
Blessings on my nation.
Join us this Sunday, 20th of April, for episode 16 of Eye on Dependency, reality radio at its best.
The general election is around the corner, and every adult has a decision to make. What are the most pressing issues for you as a voter? This Easter Sunday, Garth and Natasha share their wish list for the new government, including issues such as prevention and treatment of addictions, elder, child, and domestic abuse, lack of faith in the justice system, including police, courts, and prisons. Join us from 12:30 p.m. to share your hopes for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. The Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ministry of National Security brings you Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
Good afternoon and welcome to Dependency. I'm Garth.
And I'm Natasha. Thank you for tuning in on this special edition of the program. Today is Sunday, the 20th of April. It is Easter Sunday. It is also 420. But it is just 1 week before the general election. And this afternoon, we are attempting to turn the spotlight on what really matters.
Recalling this episode, our leadership wish list. It's not about politics, it's about priorities. The ones our communities are crying out for. The ones our leaders, we think, must hear.
But before we dive in, a quick reminder, if you're watching this broadcast on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and like the live right now so more people will join the conversation.
And share the link too. Let's get this wish list in the hands of the people who need to hear it most. We really apologize. We really apologize for that shouting you're hearing in the background. We're trying to see if we can get someone to intervene. Tamika went across, so
let's hope take it down.
Get a little sober.
Yeah.
Right, but share the link too. Let's get this wish list into the hands of the people who need to hear it most. We thank those who came before us, Roger Lee, for passing the baton to us. Now it's our leaders next. The next leaders of Trinidad and Tobago come the 28th of April. This wish list is for you.
So if you know of anyone who you think needs to hear this program, please let them tune in. But before we dive in, let us take a quick break. And when we come back, we will get into the Iron Dependency Leadership Wish List.
Online here with this weirdo named Larry. I'm getting rid of him now. Let's take a selfie. It looking good, boy. I putting it online.
Hey, I thought you say you went to the beach with your parents.
Who's you?
It's me, Larry, from online.
Hola, my name is Elena. Well, it's actually not my real name. You don't really care, do you? All you care about is once you pay your money to my boss that I look pretty, smell nice, smile for you, and let you have good time. Enjoying yourself and doing to me whatever you want to do for the money you paid. What you don't see or know is that I don't get any part of the money you paid. My boss takes all of it. I am forced to work, taking as many clients as my boss tells me to. I am beaten, made to take drugs, and I cannot leave this kind of work on my own. I am a victim of human trafficking. Please, por favor, help me.
Join us this Sunday, 20th of April, for episode 16 of Ion Dependency, reality radio at its best.
The general election is around the corner, and every adult has a decision to make. What are the most pressing issues for you as a voter? This Easter Sunday, Garth and Natasha share their wish list for the new government, including issues such as prevention and treatment of addictions, elder, child, and domestic abuse, lack of faith in the justice system, including police, courts, and prisons. Join us from 12:30 p.m. to share your hopes for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Listen live on I-95.5 FM or watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. The Counter-Trafficking Unit, Ministry of National Security brings you Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
First on our wish list improve access to addiction prevention and treatment. This is ground zero for dependency. If we don't get this right, we keep losing lives. Now let me introduce this a video in this segment on energy drinks. We know it's a popular thing with young people, party goers especially, and the mixture with that is punching and energy drink most of the time. It's dangerous, and we just have a short story Natasha could introduce you to.
Yes, this is a very short story about how the consumption of energy drinks was deathly in this case, fatal in this case. And in light of what we going to speak about in terms of prevention and treatment of addiction, the energy drink is just one of several drugs on the market, because caffeine is a drug, that not enough education is shared about it. Not many people are aware of the harms that it can do for your body. So let's take in this video about someone who was killed as a result of her consumption of energy drinks.
Caffeinated workout queen dies from heart attack at 28 as heartbroken mom warns, keep your kids away from this stuff. Katie Donnell of Florida took a caffeine supplement, followed by up to 3 energy drinks a day as well as the occasional coffee in order to fuel her workouts. The teacher was rarely seen without an energy drink in her hands and would buy a 4-pack every 2 to 3 days, according to her boyfriend. In August 2021, while out with friends, she suddenly fell unconscious, her eyes rolling into the back of her head. Her mother said, "She was left for 10 days in a medically induced coma, but she never woke up. Whenever she tried to wake up, she was having seizures. Then her body started to fail. After an anxious bedside vigil, the family decided to switch off Donnell's life support machine."
So we are not telling you, for those of you out there who are inclined to gravitate to energy drinks, is how much you consume. And there are a number of young men, especially playing football, intercol. It's some of you playing Russian roulette with your life, literally, because let's say you consume a can of energy drink and you didn't get to play on that game. What's going to happen to you? That's something you have to sweat out. And not only that, you check do your own research, folks. One of the main ingredients in energy drinks is taurine. Taurine, which is the pea from the bull that they take and add other chemicals to it, but that one of the main ingredients, bull pea. So once you put it in your system, understand what can happen. And for those of you who like to do the two, punching and blood pressure and all of these things, and temperature play a very will. It can bring you harm. So just awareness and be careful.
Absolutely, and this is not the first time, of course, we've raised this issue on our independency, but we know the story. The story about the use and abuse of other drugs like crack cocaine and marijuana, the underfunded clinics, the inaccessible rehab, the weary families that are dealing with addicted loved ones.
We'll get to that in a moment, because first of all, we should improve access to addiction prevention treatment. This is ground zero for dependency. If we don't get this right, then we're going to keep losing lives.
Absolutely. So we hear, and this is a story that we hear every week, and off the air as well. There are people who will call Garth and tell him about the horrors that they are going through trying to deal with their loved ones who are addicted to a substance or activity.
So this wishlist calls for more publicly funded treatment centers. Mr. Young or whoever forms our next government, I'm asking, please, this Easter Sunday, that somebody think about the families out there who cannot afford to carry their child to a rehab center. In any country, a state-run rehab center is very important. and Piparo was shut down, and we didn't know. No one got an explanation. There was no warning or anything like that, and to this date we don't know. All I know we had people line up to go there, and then next thing you know it was shut down. So I would like that to be brought back on the front burner, please.
Absolutely.
And because you see, the rehab facilities we work with, of course, you have to pay them. And the three we recommend all the time: New Life Ministries, Rebirth House, and Serenity Place for women, and they all require funding, or they all require the clients to pay. But there are some people who just cannot afford it. And let's look at it this way: a mother, a grandmother, never seen cocaine, marijuana, nothing in their life. In the time when they should be relaxing, now they have a member of the family terrorizing the home, because that's what happens when you have an addict in a home. He or she becomes a terrorist. I have seen burglar proof around fridge already, because the addict was just taking everything from the home. And by the time the person, if they admit they need help, the amount of money that they don't have that they spend, and then apart from what the addict steals from them. This is how we operate. So think about those families, and not just the worthless addict, the families who had nothing to do with drugs coming into the country or even selling it. They probably never seen it. They now have to bear the pain of having an addict in the home. I could tell you that is not a picnic.
Absolutely. And publicly funded treatment, as Garth is saying, it removes the financial barriers to recovery, making treatment accessible to everyone, regardless of who can and cannot afford it. So the affordability and the access is one point. The earlier people can intervene equals better outcomes. So when people can access treatment early, it means they're less likely to experience the severe consequences of their use. It reduces the pressure on hospitals and emergency services because people can be redirected to appropriate care. It supports homeless, vulnerable populations like homeless persons, persons who have suffered trauma, persons who are unemployed. It saves money in the long run because treating addiction early reduces cost on the state. And it destigmatizes treatment, because we know that a lot of people are still very ashamed when it comes to addiction. And when rehab is treated as a public good, like education or like healthcare, it reinforces the message that addiction is a health issue and not a personal failure.
So harm reduction strategies such as drug treatment in prison, a comprehensive drug treatment facility in our prison. We are too small of a country to have, addicts just running all over the place, especially, and they go to prison and there's that revolving door. I know in their own way now, Mr. Bruce and of course the commissioner, they're trying to see how they can separate the sheep of the goat, because they have some people who would go in and speak to the addicts and all of that. Mm-hmm. But we had New Life Ministries running a proper drug treatment program in the prison, and we know what happened to that. So we hope this government,
the next
government, will look at it again and put New Life Ministries back. Let them start a fresh program and separate the sheep from the goats, so that at least, and this can be done and add with legal stuff added to it. I mean, if the person can go through the entire program, apart from if the crime committed actually requires them to do time, then this should be part of the bargaining chip for them, so that they would not have a conviction when they return to society. And once it's proven that there's a drug problem involved, right? So drug checking services, allowing users to test substances for harmful adulterants like fentanyl. We know this is
This might be a touchy one, but it is something that is done in other countries, especially when you have these large festivals where the persons who are attending are using drugs. There are stations set up where you can bring your drugs to have them tested to ensure that what you're what you're taking, and the drugs that you're taking are not laced with more dangerous things like fentanyl.
gambling awareness, responsible gambling messages, funding independent problem gambling support services.
Yes.
And Natasha, we could give you a further breakdown on that.
Yes, harm reduction is gambling awareness. We don't have enough of it. We have tried on our Dependency to do our part, but there is an Emmanuel community that exists, and if you are interested in reaching out to them, they provide peer support for problem gambling. Emmanuel community can be reached at 776.
No, sorry. That is the Gamblers Anonymous. That's 776-0417. And they have meetings in Santa Cruz. Just call the number and they'll tell you the location. Was Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. And Emmanuel Community, they have their meeting on Fridays from 7 p.m. They are in Woodbrook. And you can call 362-2550 to get more information. You have that problem, do not be afraid. It's gambling. If you do your own research, and you will see a gambling addiction and a crack addiction almost have the same signs and symptoms. Similar. I got goosebumps the first time I saw that. But it is the truth. And I too, I'll give you all that story before we wrap up. But going to play with boots, and no, I think I'm doing, but I doing my own research and seeing how many people frequent playway outlets 4 times a day. Some stand there for like half day because
Just
there's
like
another game.
addict.
And there's another game that you can win every 2 minutes or something like that. And wow, it's really gripping. But there are people who fall out from this, who fall by the wayside.
Yes.
We here remember them and their families, because remember, as we say, it's not them alone going through it, their families as well feeling the pain.
Correct.
So please, for the sake of those, again, the gambling awareness initiatives that can be rolled out. Can we hear about that?
Well, responsible gambling messages and the funding of independent gambling support services. These are just a few of the measures that can be taken by these companies that run these games. But the catch is, Garth, that if these measures are genuinely designed to protect players and to reduce harm, then yes, they can be considered harm reduction. However, if they are just window dressing, minimal efforts to appear responsible while continuing to profit off of addictive behavior, then these measures will not be effective and cannot be considered harm reduction. So these are just 2 that we think can be implemented here in Trinidad and Tobago. There are several others, like setting deposit limits, so you allow players to self-impose limits on how much they spend. Self-exclusion programs where players can voluntarily ban themselves from playing. Reality checks to remind players how long they've been playing. And monitoring gambling behavior with AI technology. And intervening when signs of problem gambling appear. Those are just some of the other measures that can be taken by gambling companies in order to address the issues of problem gambling, to protect players and to reduce the harm that problem gambling causes.
Yes, and always remember, we've been as caring as possible. Let me just find, for want of a better word, people, we get the calls, We get the calls. We've been carrying this burden for the last 23 years. The burden of addiction with people who need help. And sometimes it's really difficult when we cannot go any further with the help that we can offer. We're just calling on these institutions to understand that there are people who get sick from the product that you sell, and their families get affected. Their homes that were broken up because of this, alcohol included. So this is not something that we're making up. It's just that we feel the pain. I saw my mother go through it. So that's where we're coming from, right? So
also, the other 2 things that we would like to see is a national school-based prevention program We know that there are some organizations, NGOs, and state agencies that are doing this kind of intervention, but it needs to be on a national level, i.e., in all schools, regardless of prestige or not. And also peer-led outreach for rural and at-risk communities. And when I say peer-led, I mean by people like Garth Sinclair.
I heard the Minister of National Security, who said that one thing is, somebody can correct me, but putting substance abuse on the curriculum in schools.
Yes.
We have been asking for that since Mrs. Manning was the Minister of Education.
Correct.
That's to tell you how far back we suggested that. You know why? Because I saw the domino effect coming. It's just a pity that people like yours truly and others, I remember deceased Wayne Chance. I'll never forget that. We try, we want to give that of ourselves that we don't. This is unselfish work, you know. I could have said, you know what, I good. Let me just go and see about my life and go on, you know. But this is deep work, and unless you've experienced it, you may never understand and have that much empathy for those who are experiencing it right now. But we have homes right now, this Easter Sunday, where a mother somewhere crying locked up in the bedroom, or a son harassing a mother for money, or a family.
Or she's sitting down waiting for the son she hasn't seen in 2 days to come back home.
Yeah, right now that's happening. You know, there are husbands who gamble all the money and disappear. And
for the weekend, and the family home wondering where he is and where the money is that he was supposed to bring.
Thinking that he could double up on what he has, you know. But I still hope that promise will be kept. And if the next government is serious about saving lives, this has to be a cornerstone of the agenda.
Absolutely. Because it requires a massive change in mindset.
Yes, it does.
Not just among the leaders, but amongst the society. From shame and punishment when it comes to addiction to support and healing. So we're going to take another short break.
Could I interject for 1 second before we go to the break? I just wanted to leave you with this. There are people who speak about addiction or substance abuse, but do they really understand addiction? And from my experience, in the 23 years of doing this and my journey to where I am today, I could tell you not many people understand addiction. There's a big difference. And between just reading about it and experiencing it. I am just saying that there are a number of people like us who can help turn things around and not being allowed to. I could even go so far as to say, was Mr. Robert Ward from New Life Ministries or James Howard from the former chairman of the group on Arima Boys RC on a Saturday. You can go up there too. Maxwell now leads that group. Have they ever been put on a panel or National Drug Council and reached out them for advice? Because reading about drugs and actually experiencing it are two different things. I cannot, just yesterday again, another prison officer got caught with marijuana and cocaine.
Yep.
When I had the opportunity to speak to prison officers under Minister Hines when he was minister in the ministry, the prison officers meet me to this day and told me that they kept that in the front of their mind and they retired gracefully. Soldiers do the same thing. And I just wish that we would have more opportunity to save some lives. Because it's not just about substance abuse alone, it's about the domino effect. I paint that picture very good. But
it's like asking an architect to do surgery. It can't.
So let's go to that break. We'll be back with more.
Slavery, a terrible time in our history. The kidnapping, buying and selling of people for profit, the exploitation of another human being. It still exists today. It has a new name, human trafficking. Anyone can be a victim. There is forced labor, sexual exploitation, and domestic servitude. Human trafficking is a worldwide problem and an emerging concern for us here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you know of or suspect human trafficking activity, call the counter-trafficking hotline at 800-4CTU or 800-4288. Human trafficking is a crime. Identify it, report it, stop it. A message from the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Ah boy. Feel like going and buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Do you want to support our work at Eye on Dependency? Here are 3 ways to do so. You can make a donation to the Eye on Dependency account at Republic Bank. You can follow the Eye on Dependency page on Facebook. You can subscribe to the Eye on Dependency channel on YouTube. Liking, commenting, and sharing the live on a Sunday also helps. Thanks in advance for your support.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and we are presenting our leadership wish list in advance of the upcoming general election. So next up, our next segment dealing with ending abuse in all its forms. Elder abuse, domestic violence, child neglect. There are far too many people suffering behind closed doors.
We've said it before, awareness is not enough. Survivors need action, protection, and dignity.
And in that vein, we are going to play this short video about grooming, which is one of the issues that we have dealt with. It is aligned to the whole issue of human trafficking, but this is a video that speaks to a child groomer who has been identified online.
Parents, this one is for you. You need to be careful. You need to be on top of your game. You give your child a phone. These phones, children could run rings around you with these phones now. You need to get yourself akura with the usage of these phones, because this video is about a groomer who was grooming a child
on Snapchat.
On Snapchat. Is your child on Snapchat? Let's go to the video.
This is Mr. Fat Cat 314, a 17-year-old kitty and love all people person.
Okay, this is a follow-up to that video because I'm concerned that this guy may have other victims out there. If you missed that video, I'll give you a quick recap. So, this woman has an 11-year-old daughter. She regularly monitors her daughter's phone to see who she's communicating with on apps, etc., and she found messages from that account. The account Mr. Fat Cat that claims to be a 17-year-old kitty, which also maybe implies a 17-year-old person, but she found that account had been DMing her daughter. Again, 11 years old, telling her she's cute, asking her if she has Snapchat, asking what other social media she has, and again, asking for Snapchat. And if you didn't know, pedophiles love Snapchat because things disappear. And also, if you take a screenshot without using like special software, they're aware that you took the screenshot, and it gives them a heads up. So she saw that and was concerned and started digging to see who this person was. And that Fat Cat account was linked to this Instagram of this guy, which then linked back to this TikTok account of this man, not 17. And she wanted to know why this guy is telling her 11-year-old daughter she's cute and wanting to talk to her online. She posted that video, and the biggest indicator that he's doing something sketchy is the fact that he deleted everything. All his TikToks are gone, his Instagram, he pulled it all down. But it's too late. I mean, it's not hard to find you when you have a criminal record. So I was able to find out his name is Tony K. Noonan, and that he was originally from Burlington, Kansas, but now lives in St. Louis, Missouri. And like I said, I'm fairly certain there are other girls. especially when duets were happening with girls like this, who I'm covering her face because she is extremely young, and she's calling him uncle when they aren't related. And when someone commented on her video that he's been talking to 11-year-olds, she said, "Oh, did he test you?" A test for what? Because that sounds like grooming. So I'm going to reach out to her mother. But in the meantime, parents, look at your kids' accounts. See if they've had contact with either the Fat Cat or that account. And if so, please let me know.
So parents need to be very, 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 very vigilant. So our wish list, when it comes to abuse, elder, child, and domestic abuse, includes strengthening shelters, hotlines, and legal aid. There are not nearly enough shelters, as we know. The hotlines that we have are not enough, and legal aid for persons who want to pursue action against the perpetrators is not as robust as it should be. Secondly, enforcing mandatory reporting and follow-up systems. When you recognize, if you have an elderly parent who is being abused, who do you report it to? Apart from the police, who do you report it to? If you have observed something happening in a neighbor's home with a child, who do you report it to? Are you mandated to report it?
No, I think we didn't discuss this one, but I think social development has that cover. I mean, we're wrong for elder abuse. That was Gender Affairs Ministry. Yeah, that part kind of went over my head while we were preparing. But there's, like, for instance, that story that came out a couple of weeks ago in Tobago.
Yes, about the home.
Right, and the ministry did an investigation on them. But
the home is still functioning.
Right. Now, the thing is, how robust are the checks and balances for people? Because we have heard of some really nasty stuff. People called us and told us. Up to yesterday, I was speaking with an elderly person who, again, experienced either from private or state-supported caregivers. And some of the things, I mean, even includes theft and physical abuse.
Right.
And how robust it is, that's our next story. Because it's kind of difficult to think that an adult will sit before cameras and lie on an entire home, and bring attention to that said home. So, but I know the ministry deals with that. So, but funding for education around healthy relationships.
And this speaks to the whole male-female dynamic. I know Gender Affairs is doing some work on this, but as we talk about domestic abuse, I don't think we understand enough about what healthy relationships look like and how we can be more accepting and respectful of each other when we are in these relationships. So education, teaching young people especially, and even adults, because adults learn what mimic what they learn while they're growing up.
And this is why I think the Gender Affairs Ministry, they started the Men's Intervention, Men's Bureau, and where men they are involved as well. And so far, even from the discussions we've had right here, so it should be expanded. It should be a larger effort in getting that.
It should be, because women are still dying. Look at this 14-year-old girl who was killed the other day, and the perpetrator was allowed to kill himself. So again, we will never know.
When you say allowed?
He confessed, and then he was put in a cell and wasn't monitored.
Oh, you mean
so he took his pants and hung himself.
Well, again.
And people say that women and girls are not, that men are not responsible for women and girls' safety. But we keep hearing these stories over and over again. But anyway.
Well, he took the easy way out, so.
Yes.
But we want a national action plan, basically, because no one should feel unsafe in their home, especially. Now, you see the ankle monitors, I wish, again, we could have where that could work perfect. Remember, again, on our Dependency, 15 years ago, we did a program on this. I thought about it and I said, maybe we should have ankle monitors that once the perpetrator decides to breach a protection order and he gets within 100, even as, let's say, 200 meters of the person, you get a warning. You cross a certain meter, let's say you reach 100, you get another warning.
It would
75
beep.
meters, it would start to beep very loud. And then if he insists on ignoring the beep, then he should get shocked. Not to the point of kill, but to at least disable
Deter
him
him from
until, and now
moving
while all of that going on, the victim will be notified he's in the
Yes.
area.
Yes.
The police would pick up that signal as well
Yes.
and go to that. No, this is what I envision. That is my dream.
Yeah.
That type of, and this is not this is not difficult. I don't think it is.
It shouldn't
Just
be.
that attention needs to be paid to it further, so that we have that kind of. So when somebody decides to take out a protection order, they're sure that nothing will happen to them, because from the time that person comes within a certain distance, bacchanal, that beep will be so loud that everybody will be watching down by your foot. So when is that a beep?
Correct.
And you know, it will draw attention to you, and you'll get out of it, and that will make the victim or intended victim safe. So that is my vision for that. I hope it
Agreed.
happens.
And it could be extended to domestic abuse cases, child abuse cases, instead of having this registry which nobody knows how to find, or how about ankle monitors for sexual offenders instead?
So
Maybe.
we go to a break.
But before we do, just to remind you that this is not just about the isolated cases, but it is a systemic failure, and leaders need to confront it. There are too many people walking around here with reliving traumatic experiences, and nobody is helping them. So we'll go to the break now, and when we come back, we'll talk about the justice system.
And remember, we're going to take.
Give me my phone.
What you doing taking them kind of pictures? I'll tell.
Give me my phone.
What you doing taking them kind of pictures? I'll tell mommy.
And I'll tell her you invaded my privacy.
Privacy? When you send those pics, you lose all privacy. It's like setting up a billboard with your naked pics for the world to see.
Those pictures are for my boyfriend's eyes only, and he'll never do that to me.
Yes, he can, or one of his friends or family. Or someone can steal his phone. Sending naked pics can open you up to embarrassment for you, your family, and friends. You can be harassed by bullies. Your pics can be uploaded to websites and seen by everybody, even the wrong people, sex offenders. It can also affect you getting a good job in the future. Once those pictures go out, you can never get them back.
Okay, I'll tell my boyfriend to delete them, and I'll delete these. I'm glad I have a smart little sister.
I'm still telling mommy.
Yes, girl. Online here with this weirdo named Larry. I'm getting rid of him now. Let's take a selfie. It looking good, boy. I putting it online.
Hey, I thought you say you went to the beach with your parents.
Who's you?
It's me, Larry, from online.
Do you want to support our work at Ion Dependency? Here are 3 ways to do so. You can make a donation to the Ion Dependency account at Republic Bank. You can follow the Ion Dependency page on Facebook. You can subscribe to the Ion Dependency channel on YouTube. Liking, commenting, and sharing the live on a Sunday also helps. Thanks in advance for your support.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's talk about trust. Now we're talking about the restoring faith in our justice system. So let's talk about trust, specifically in the justice system. It's a bit, it needs fixing, and people know it. All right. I know the prison service, they actually, the executive and all the other members, they're actually holding hands around our penal institutions just to keep it standing.
Like termites on
It's
a
not-
rusty
it's-
door.
It's not easy, and we have to give them that. They have been, by some magical way, been keeping those prison gates locked. But of course, there always must be some injection, further injection to restoring faith in the justice system. Natasha, could you quickly introduce this?
Yes, and when we're talking about the justice system, we're talking about police who abuse, the delays in court, and the prison system that fails victims and offenders. People are losing faith in the very institutions that are meant to protect them. So this video talks very briefly about how to restore faith in the justice system and puts forward a very unique approach, which some might consider soft, but if what we have been doing thus far is not working, then we need to consider an alternative.
So I think, first of all, we have to redefine how we think about public safety. We've been, for a long time, linking public safety to tougher sentences and to law enforcement, and seeing law enforcement as the way in which we prevent and address crime. So, in fact, there's lots of research that the most effective ways to prevent crime are making communities and neighborhoods stronger. So I like this example, which comes from a sociologist at Chicago named Robert Sampson. So you have a vacant lot in a poor neighborhood. Some community group decides to come in and clean it up and turn it into a playground. Well, now you have kids out there, and so there are going to be some grown-ups keeping an eye out them, and you're going to have foot traffic. And suddenly you just have a neighborhood that's working better. It's sort of like the opposite of the broken windows theory. You don't use the police to clean it up. You try to make things vibrant from within a community. And those kinds of interventions, actually, you can so cause an effect with the murder rate in a particular neighborhood or place. So I want to just change, just for a minute, just like set aside the courts and the police in this conversation and just think about the idea of turning safety into a value that we associate with the health of communities and also with trust in law enforcement. See, I brought them back a little too quickly. But there is a lot of evidence that when people see the law as legitimate and they trust the system, they are more likely to abide by the law and to value it and to help the police solve crimes and to show up as witnesses in court. Nationally, we solve only 60% of the murders in this country. No, those are the serious violent crimes that are causing this huge public safety threat. And we've created a system in which people don't want to show up as corroborating witnesses, in part because they have no faith that they will be treated well or that the system means well. So I think that is just this huge shift, not so much about don't prosecute, but how to make not the don'ts, but the do's, I guess.
Right.
So, if we want to take back our communities, that is one way to improve faith and trust in the systems that are designed to protect us. So, here's what we want to see.
So, drug testing for suspects on a targeted basis, persons arrested for violent crimes, repeat offenders, or drug-related offenses, independent oversight for police conduct, and get more respect for even the institution like the PCA. Timely access to justice, especially for vulnerable populations. Expanded and better resourced diversion programs, drug treatment courts for mental health and substance-related cases. Rehabilitation that actually prepares people to rejoin society. So, but let's focus on one thing before we go to the next segment, drug testing for suspects on a targeted basis. Could you enlighten? And those of you listening, remember, if you think the information you hear here is important, then you can pass it on to the relevant ones who probably either at the beach or in Tobago or in Miami or at the stadium. A lot's happening today. So please pass it on to them. or refer them to our page after we finish. They could come back and get it from the beginning tomorrow. They're home relaxing. We could do that. But could you share that?
Right. So we have been advocating for drug testing of suspects. And it is possible in Trinidad and Tobago, but there's several factors that would affect how practical and effective it can be. And some of the things that will impact on the feasibility include legislative adjustments and clear policy directives, because there's no general law that mandates routine drug testing for all suspects held in custody, and only certain kinds of offenders may be subject to testing under specific laws. The second thing is the investment in rapid testing tools, which can be expensive. It would require an investment in drug testing kits. It would require training for officers on administering these tests. And it would require an expanded role for the forensic center, which is also under-resourced and understaffed, and for private labs who would need, under contract, who would need to process these tests. And the cost would be high without funding from external sources. So that's another drawback to drug testing of suspects. The third one would be protection of the suspect's legal rights. Now, we have had conversations with officers of the judiciary on this, and compulsory drug testing raises constitutional concerns, especially if it is done without probable cause or consent, and if the results are used without the proper legal safeguards. Because regardless, you are a suspect. You are innocent until proven guilty, as we like to say. So we have to make sure that persons who are suspects are treated with their constitutional rights in mind. And the fourth one would be the strengthened forensic and lab capacity, which, as we know, is diminished. But we think that this can be rolled out on a targeted basis, as Garth mentioned earlier, can be applied for persons arrested for violent crimes, for repeat offenders, and for drug-related offenses, which, of course, is our purview, right? We want to know, we should want to know whether persons committing these offenses are under the influence of a substance, and how we can trace back that criminal activity to the use of the substance, and how then we can treat that person while he or she is in custody, and ensure that when he or she is released, that they can rejoin society in a positive way.
Yeah. So if again, is getting all involved and stop being ashamed of people who fell and have themselves in public like me, and putting obstacles or because you hear us talk about drug treatment courts and all of these things.
Yes.
It's ironic. At the same time, it hurts to know that we are not in any way involved in an idea that we brought to Trinidad and Tobago. And that's not an institution, which is the drug treatment courts. We have it on tape, we have it on record, where the manager of the drug council at the time said that the justice system wasn't even thinking about it when we brought the idea of drug treatment courts. How we found out, we did our own research. I wanted to find out. That's how our dependency started, with me wanting to find out why. So we were allowed to visit Brooklyn Drug Treatment Court, sit in the proceeding, not just for graduation, sat an entire proceeding. Then we were allowed to do the same in the United Kingdom. And then we were allowed to do the same in Canada. And the love and respect that we got from those foreigners is amazing. Like I said, the judge took us to his chambers and had a chat with us, took us back to court. We looked at the proceedings. It's like, well, no, you can't let them see that. And you can't. These people welcomed us with open arms. Foreigners. But I cannot say anything about our drug treatment court in Trinidad and Tobago. We cannot say anything because we were never allowed to be or even stay involved with it, unfortunately. But those of you out there who wish to find out, then you can do your research.
But it's still something that we advocate for, the use of these drug treatment courts as a diversion program for persons who can use the help that the courts can offer. Of course, the courts are equally under-resourced in terms of and it goes back to our first point about access to treatment. If the courts do not have rehab centers to send people to, in lieu of sending them to prison, then what are we doing? If the courts cannot drug test people on a regular basis, drug test the admittance to the court on a regular basis, what is the point? So there are deficiencies even in that drug treatment court system that we would like to see addressed as well.
Yeah, that Brooklyn drug treatment court we visited, there's a whole building with 4 floors of activity, including a lab, a drug testing. Everything is right there on the spot. And it was
the court
nice.
has access to all of that information about the client of the court so that they can determine how they proceed.
And then you need more magistrates too, as well, who believe
that this works.
In the idea. There are some still who they don't. I don't know why, but we must have magistrates who believe that people can change if they want to, if you give them the opportunity to. And let's try and see sometimes it's not a one-shot quick fix deal.
No.
But it is worth a try for your citizens. We were amazed sitting in the Canadian drug treatment court facility and see how they in Toronto and how they run their business, and then in Hammersmith in the UK, and
So we need leadership. Coming back to our point and our wish list, we need leadership that does not flinch when these tough questions are asked, especially when these questions surround race, class, and equity in the justice system. We cannot hide from these questions. We have to do better when it comes to delivering justice to our people.
And if people don't believe in justice, society itself starts to unravel. This has to change. So let's go to segment 3, which is something that I know we don't pay attention to here in Trinidad and Tobago, which is animal cruelty.
Yes. These are some of the other issues that we would like to see addressed, kind of our add-ons to the list. And of course, enforcement of animal cruelty laws and subventions for animal welfare organizations is at the top of my list, given my involvement and proposals that I have submitted to persons in ministerial chairs on this. So this video is a news report on an animal cruelty investigation in Ontario, just to give you a sense of how seriously they take these issues in other countries.
Warning about this next story. A man has been arrested in a disturbing animal cruelty investigation in Mississauga. Police say several puppies were found either dead or mutilated between December of 2024 and just last month. Lexi Benedict is live outside Peel Police Headquarters with the details. Lexi, disturbing obviously. What more can you tell us?
Hey, Anthony, this is a very disturbing one to hear. Police say this involves puppies that were just 8 to 10 weeks old that were purchased online and found mutilated and left for dead. Police now making an arrest in what they're calling a very complex investigation. Police say several incidents happened between December of last year to March of this year, where these puppies were located in the Dundas and Mavis area of Mississauga, and it was found that their injuries were intentionally caused. The investigation found that the suspect, 43-year-old Jian Wang, allegedly used various buy and sell platforms, including Kijiji, to purchase the puppies that he later abused, using the alias Joey to converse with sellers and make purchases. Wang has been arrested and was held in custody pending a bail hearing. He faces 12 charges, including killing or injuring animals. Police say they don't have the specific shelter of where the recovering puppies have been taken, but they are receiving treatment through the Mississauga Animal Services.
Investigators have identified 8 dogs that are involved in this investigation. From that number, only 4 are the ones that they've accounted for. Out of the 4, 1 was found deceased, and the other 3 are receiving medical attention.
Police are appealing to anyone who may have sold puppies to the name Joey and are asking anyone with further information to contact investigators. I'll send it back to you.
Lexi, thank you for the update. That's Lexi Benedict in front of Peel Police Headquarters.
So that was a report out of Ontario regarding animal cruelty, and I'm yet to hear anyone speak to this on a national level. Maybe they think people don't care, or maybe we don't. But there are a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago for whom animal cruelty is a serious issue. It may not be a platform issue or an issue that they are going to vote on. I know I will be, but it would be useful to know that the persons who are offering themselves up for office are concerned about this issue, because animals share this planet with us, and their lives are not less than ours as human beings.
Right. So that's the final thing before we take your calls: affordable housing, because recovery starts with stability, mental health access, especially long-term care, not just crisis response. This is what we have right now.
Yep.
We have one mental institution in this country here that I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but almost recycling addicts.
It is.
We've heard these stories. It's just that we're not a bacchanal program, so that we wouldn't come and, just to stir up trouble and make people uneasy. But those of you who listening, who familiar, you understand what I'm speaking about. And the homelessness is being contributed in this regard, because there are some senders wouldn't keep a person 2 trips, 3 trips, you're lucky. But if you're violent, and the kind of drugs that these young men are using, young women are using now, it's making them very violent. It makes them very violent. So what happens is, if the family don't want them to come back home, say, well, we can't keep them, So family don't want them home, no place for them to stay, out on the street.
Correct.
Add to the homelessness and issues that we already plagued with on the streets. That is how the population is growing too as well. So we're just asking, and if you have the money, then you can pay somebody privately, but that's a lot of money, $4,000 a month. And it's criminal for some people after they go through all of that with their addict. So we need to take a deeper look into that, please, and try and help out those who cannot afford but still don't want their child on the street. Education and employment support, pathways out of dependency, support for youth, single parents and caregivers, enforcement of animal cruelty laws, and subventions for animal welfare organizations. These are just some of the things on our wish list. Let me just touch on support, education and employment support, pathways out of dependency.
Yep.
Again, this program started off from my experience, from what I went through, and I could tell you, it's really difficult if we don't have people in places who believe that people can change. There's a roller coaster ride. And if it is, when I came out of prison, they didn't have vision and mission. So I literally, thankfully, I got help from some folks who, and I'll never ever forget, Rachel and Patrick Valadez from Valsane, who came and they picked me up in front of the prison on Frederick Street and helped me to get back on my feet. And I'm eternally thankful for them for that. Unfortunately, even Rachel herself ended up on cocaine at some point. But it's good family, and they had the gym at Val Park where I went to be an instructor afterwards. So,
but you had to rely on individual assistance. There wasn't an institution or an agency you could go to and say, I am freshly out of prison, I am in recovery, I need to find stable housing, I need to find support to work. Where do you go?
Yeah, and from the experience, maybe we'll do a program on that one day, but I said this at the men's forum that put on by the Gender Affairs Ministry last year under PS Ganga Prasad Singh, and I said it in the forum that I am an example of a system that puts people in place, but put people who really don't understand. They're just in the office, but they're not of the office. And there are people, it's like an emotional roller coaster ride. But If I leave prison tomorrow and I say, okay, I'm a good welder, I want to start my life over, forget Vision and Mission. If Vision and Mission full and can't take me, where do I go? If I have a family and I want to work, who can guide me along with that and do it with love and care rather than I doing it because I have to and nobody tell you go to jail and you don't come here and swell up your face and you know, it's a rough road, Trinidad and Tobago. Believe me when I tell you. And when I said earlier, there are people who don't understand what addiction is. They just understand substance abuse. I could have relapsed in Trinidad and Tobago here at least 10 times because relapse and recovery go hand in hand. See, depression, rejection, deliberate, in some cases, obstacles can make someone relapse. Or someone could use that as an excuse to relapse. Natasha could come here one Sunday and say, well, unfortunately, God had a relapse. And
I would come here though. I would have to call in because I couldn't face people.
It reminded me of Wayne Chance, deceased Wayne Chance. Wayne Chance didn't have it easy. And sometimes Wayne called me one time for a number, and when I answered, he said, all I asked him is how things were. And Wayne spoke to me for an hour and a half, telling me of the challenges that he's facing, trying to get Vision and Mission established and respected. It wasn't easy. Stress helped to exacerbate his cancer, and that killed him. And I keep asking myself the question, should I allow that to happen to me? Because who to get to speak to understand? We've tried. They say men don't talk. I found people to talk to and it didn't help. You know, and
because they're operating, as you said, in a system that the system itself is not working to help you. Because of the people in there who don't understand what the agency, the system that they're in, is designed to do. Because it's not designed to help you, so that's why they can't help you.
No, well, it's how should
unless you meet up with one individual who.
So what? That's what I'm just going to explain.
Is the
on the journey,
exception.
On the journey, we meet people like that.
Yes.
But they don't last long.
No.
So and then introduce to somebody else who not of that mindset, and have to start all over again. So it's a up and a crash, a slow climb, a fast descent. And it has been like that for quite a while. And at some point, if we are serious, and I'm not speaking for me now, I'm speaking about the next guy who coming out of prison want to do what I doing, all I think about them, all right? I have reached a stage now where I don't think I have fight left in me. It's just because of the thing that because of the thing that I experienced, and thank God our partner here who helps to keep me focused and something to live for. I live for independency. Independency helped me survive. In Trinidad and Tobago, I'm not fooling you. My mother was cared for me till she died, because we know I relapsed 3 times before I went to rehab. I went to prison, and this prison woke me up. Why it had to reach to that? Because the obstacles sometimes that we encounter sometimes mess us up. Thank God we're able to hold it together and do this program for you. So let's open the lines now.
Yes. Before we do, just a reminder as we get back on track and speak to who we are addressing today. Every leader loves to say, we will build a better future, right? So we have just provided you with a blueprint as to some of the things that can help all of us enjoy a better future. So now it's your turn. For those of you listening, those of you watching, the phone lines are open. What is your wish list? What are some of the things that you want from the next government?
Right, and thanks for this, Ali. What about enforcement of youth programs? Somebody asked, and let me reinforce that again.
Enforcement of the youth program.
It's
or
strengthening
reinforcement.
Them.
Okay.
Strengthening them.
Okay.
And because
like
I will
CCC,
MyLat. Listen, we have a problem right now with people we recruiting. Let's admit it. I've always recommended maybe somebody will do it 10 years from now. You see, the Civilian Conservation Corps and MyLat program are the two perfect places to recruit for arms of protective service. We just have to expand on it. You see, CCC trainees in each region, they're there for 6 months. I've always said you can't fake discipline for 6 months. So you go through them, you give them, they are part of the CCC, but the ones who want to go to the military from there, you have the opportunity to select them. Remember, we have 8 regions of CCC, If we select 20 from each region, right? That's one thing.
That's one batch.
That's one, but only that if we could relax again the qualifications needed, everybody might have 3 subjects
for entry into the military.
Yeah,
okay.
and we're losing a lot of loyal citizens in this country who would otherwise make very good soldiers because they don't have 3 or 4 subjects.
Are the entry requirements for the paramilitary services similar or less than the military?
I don't know. I just I focus on the.
I know. Because I'm thinking that maybe they might, if they can't get into the regiment or Coast Guard or Air Guard, they might think about joining police service or fire service or prison service.
But if their preference is being a soldier, or a sailor, then give them the opportunity to. Maybe you might have a loyal soldier rather than an educated one who will steal a weapon somewhere down the road or get involved in crime, or And then I'm not finished. Each region now they have instructors most of the time from these regions, so they have enough time to vet the people who decide they want. So let's say in Rio Claro, you have instructors from Rio Claro running a CCC program in Rio Claro. They will have enough time now, and you have, let's say, 10 or 15 people from Rio Claro who they presently preparing to join the military. You have enough time to vet them. Where I cutting down now on the defense force or the regiment having to send people quite Rio Claro to vet people.
Yeah.
You understand? You have former soldiers and sailors in CCC,
Yeah.
So they know the questions asked, they know, and then these communities small, and it's easy to find where, Miss Mavis' son living and find out about Miss Mavis' son. and they will trust people from their community asking questions about somebody who wants to join the military. So you cut down on the money that the defense force would spend to send people to vet people.
Correct. But I just wanted to go back quickly to the entry requirements quickly. Would it be possible, because I don't want us to lose the importance of it. I think, yes, we wanna widen the pool and not focus necessarily on the academics or entirely on the academics. But are you giving people the opportunity to pursue those qualifications while they're in there?
They can. They could do a subject a year and come up to speed.
Right, so that could
I say that to all young soldiers.
A selling point. If you don't have the qualifications now, still try, and when you get in, then you could pursue that, because that level of education, formal education, is really helpful in terms of problem solving and critical thinking.
Anybody who want to share their wish list, let's go with them one time. We talk enough. Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, sorry, and thank you very much for joining us on your holiday.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Very well. I listen to your program almost every Sunday, and I say almost because sometimes when I come run late from church, I just come to grab your program. Now, wish list, 2 things. I wish we could be a changed society in the sense that attitude. You see, attitude, God, you see, asking people about wish list, and we have the same attitude, I don't know if it will work, I don't know if it will work, because you're asking people to change and you ain't changing. And I don't mean you particularly.
No, I understand what you're saying, sir.
I'm just making a statement. We're asking people to change, and we ourselves not changing. We're going on the same road, year go, year come. Number 2, You see this animal system, if you could remember when you in the early days with you and Wayne Chance, that is the time when we used to see a lot of stray dogs getting licked down on the highway, and we had to dodge away from when we come up the road, we had to dodge away from a dead dog, and I can remember one time, I behind a guy, bounced down a dog. I had to stop in the center of that highway because the dog was limping, and move it because everybody passing the dog. I had to come out my car, stop the traffic, and why could I get killed? Come on the side of the road, move it. You see these people with this call 1%? That guy had a pickup, and he come out and helped me, and we was discussing. And from then on, I went on to Winchance the following week and talked about Winchance with this animal business. God, I wish we could have an animal court like abroad. An animal court. And you know what I'm talking about, because you could travel. I can remember in Brooklyn, there was this guy there was a stray dog came in the dormitory in the college, and they had cameras, and this guy take that dog for football. He was being before the court. You know the magistrate tell him? He said, let me tell you something. These people can talk, and we are the mouthpiece. He gets 6 months, 6 months for kicking the animal in the hallway in the dormitory.
Right, but I don't want to cut you off, but thank you very much, though. We want to take as much as we could with their wish list, if they have one. But thank you for your contribution. I appreciate it. And keep the support. Jackie, now tell me, and yes, I saw this story, Jackie. Morning, did you hear of the group of men in Beach armed with guns invaded a field of cows and bison, shot all of them, shot at them, hacked off their legs. And yeah, I saw that on the news.
That is sick.
And we have some very, very sick, evil people among us. I'm not lying to you.
If you could do that to animals, what will you do to human beings?
It's sad. But yes, I remember. So, and what the last caller said, the animal laws, whoever had done that should be locked up by now or investigated, so that they could pay for what they do. If you see the car on the bison, and listen, it was horrible to watch. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And remember, keep your contribution short. We have 20 minutes. We could get 20 calls in.
I am a retiree from Petrotrin. I started working Petrotrin when I was 18 years old. When I started work, I was given 3 forms to fill out. One for medical, one for pension, and one for union dues. And I was paying my union dues and my medical and things since I get that work in 1972. When in 2018, when Petrotrin dissolved into Heritage, I no longer have my medical. And myself and others have the same problem, same complaint, and we are home suffering without our medical plan. And no matter where we go, what we try, we are not getting no assistance from nobody. And we ain't asking for no handout. We contribute to the medical plan while we was working.
So you want to appeal to the next government, please, to look. I have been hearing this caller ever since Umbala was alive, I think, calling this radio station and speaking about this,
Yeah.
And he called John and John. He called Dale and Tony. He called Darian. You, sir, you have not gotten what you've been asking for yet?
No, well, it's not what we're asking for, it's what belongs to us.
Right, this is what I mean, yes. What belongs to you. Have not gotten that yet since you've been calling for it?
No, when we have to go to do any medical, we have to go by the nursing home, and there's thousands of dollars, and we don't have. And we are the pioneer of Trinidad and Tobago. We are the belly of Trinidad and Tobago. I was working in the oil field. We was drilling oil in the most dangerous field in Trinidad and Tobago. And today we are just home watching up on the, lying on our bed watching up on the roof.
What's your name, sir?
Frankie Maguire.
Frankie Maguire. Mr. Maguire, thank you very much. And I am aware of this because you have been at it for quite a while, at least about, 8 years?
Since 2018.
There you go. Frankie, what's it? Maguire?
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Wow. No, and you see, this is the pain that some citizens suffer in their own way, and that stress.
Unfortunately, we don't read about any papers or hear on the news.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Independency.
Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon.
Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, we
Yes,
hear
you are
you.
on live, sir.
My situation is a trust. Okay?
Pardon?
I was given a protection order, which was on a matter of criminal contempt. You there with me?
Yes, we are.
Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Right. So the criminal contempt reached the arson of my home. I went before the court. I gave the magistrate my complaint, and she gave her help to get a lawyer to present my case. But she left on a promotion to become a judge. And the following magistrate who came, she put me through the mill for 17 months to obliterate or to repudiate my protection order. Started a trial, stalled it for 10 months. After the status of the protection order expired, she restarted in December. The status of the protection order was in June. Twice tried to get passed by default, double date the adjournment twice. Dismissed the case with a second, they called the date allowed, and then they wrote on a different date, and then dismissed the case. But what happened is that I came back, and when they told me my case was dismissed, I stepped aside, and the next guy came, and they told him his case was also dismissed. But he produced a receipt to show that what is this date on this receipt the court gives me. And they told him the 18th of May. He said, what is the date today? They said 18th of May. So he asked the clerk of the peace, how come you all dismissed my case on the 9th of May when this receipt you all give me to come to court is the 18th of May? And I came forward and I explained, they did me the same thing. I am not pretty, I'm not ugly, but I'm pretty ugly. How they mistake you for me? Because they wanted to dismiss my case, but they point this fellow out and dismiss his case also. They reinstated the case, and then the magistrate came by and she asked me for my protection order, a copy, because that was the evidence that should have started the case.
Sir.
Asked for this document.
Caller?
Yeah.
All right. Now, what is your wish?
Like a very
yes, because
My
you're
name?
talking about something legally here that we, on this side of the fence, wouldn't know the other side of that story too. But what is your wish?
Say again?
What is your wish? What is your wish? Because
Well,
what you're
the trust in the system of justice.
Pardon?
So your
trust.
your trust and
trust.
faith in the system has
Right.
been
System of
eroded.
justice, because my home was burned down whilst I was in court. I live nowhere presently.
Okay.
Okay, and
Gotcha.
So
you have not been able to access justice.
Access any justice.
So, and you would like to see that improve?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You see, and then again, Natasha, this is something the new government really have to take seriously, There are a number of people, you see, Frank Sipers has had to send a lawyer to prison for 14 days for contempt. And, we need to see more of this for people to be on their toes and look out for the persons who are suffering.
Yes.
Because, again, when somebody's in court, the whole family in court with them in Tamika.
Correct.
When somebody's in prison, the whole family in prison with them, Think about the family. You may hate the person, you may hate what the person did. But if we have love for each other, as this is Easter Sunday and we preach it so much, then let's see if we could extend that love to our fellow man and feel the pain in people's voices when they reach out for help. That's all we're asking.
Yep.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Garth, and good afternoon to Tasha and one and all. Garth, what is the my wish? What is the situation with the rehab center down in Kapara Dole Shady Mansion?
Yeah.
Is the structure there? I know it's not functional. Is the structure still there?
Good question.
Is
Good question. We don't know, and like I said at the top, we never got an explanation. The public never got an explanation.
Right. We did hear that it was supposed to be repurposed for another purpose other than drug rehabilitation, but we haven't got any.
Yeah, we really don't know. We can't say why it was done, and so we don't want to pronounce on it. All we know is that we need one.
Right. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if the structure, as I say, you haven't visually seen it. So you all, if the structure still there, if it needs to recommission, if it needs.
But I mean, it was a functioning treatment
It's
facility.
still there
so
unless they break it down by now. But it was
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
the structure is no longer there. What we need in Trinidad, what he wishes the government that I support, Minister Stuart Young, we have a drug problem in this country. When you're up and down in Port of Spain 6 and 7 early in the morning, you're only crossing over pipers all over Charlotte and George Street. All over pipers. So that will tell you that we need a rehab here. The state have a responsibility. When Ramesh dealt with the Dolce, the gang, I see it vividly here. He said the poison that they were selling, he took their mansion and turned it into a rehab in Caparo. Why is not functioning? Why no government seems to have this thing up running and there's drug addicts all over Port of Spain being used by all sorts of people, stealing and doing all sorts of undesirable things? We need, so my wish is, we have a problem in Trinidad and Tobago, Garth and Natasha, in the way we treat people, especially underprivileged. That's why I've pulled away in my present circumstance from a lot of things. That's we see it until it actually hits your family or someone that they love. We see it as by the way and a side issue. So until we start changing the way we treat one another and we see things, that is why that Caparo Center is not back up functionally running. And Ram is supposed to be opening his mouth because he's the one who orchestrated that move there to have that there for the drug users. So Garth and Natasha, I listen, I hope that is my wish, that when Stuart Young gets back in there, that they get that place back up running or somewhere else in Trinidad, because the city is flooded with pipers all over.
All right, Neil. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. For those of you who, this for the police service, and thank you, Ali, possessors, you must have 5 subjects in CXC examination. 5, including language, general proficiency at grade 1, 2, or 3, or basic proficiency in grade 1 in all 5 subjects, or 5 GCE O-level passes, including English, or grade A, B, or C in all 5 subjects.
Yep.
Wow. So whoa. How many people with 5 subjects willing to join the police service? Because some of them will join because they're looking for work.
Correct.
And they don't want to be career, or they're not career police officers or career soldiers or whatever. This kind of rough, boy, I find. That's just my view.
But how many people really are unqualified for the police service? How many people?
Well, Natasha, from some of the things we've seen and reading and hearing, you know, the 5 subjects really not...
Is a standard too high?
No, it's not a standard too high. It's not preventing them from still going over the deep end or going on the wrong side of the track.
Right, well, because...
because to me, it's more that loyalty and that dedication to duty. Because, again, some people go to these arms of the protective service because they want to work, and they're qualified and they get it. You know what I mean?
And the institutions themselves are flawed and broken, Garth, as we all know. So,
let's take another call. Tamika. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Garth and Natasha. In respect to the caller, that Maguire fellow, that thing falls straight into the lap of the union would have been Mr. Roche, and I remember somebody advised him accordingly. He inspected that already. The Maguire fellow with the medical.
Yeah, yes.
That falls straight in the lap of Mr. Roche, and they would have been you, and they would advise him accordingly already. Have a good day and be safe.
All right. Hello, good afternoon. 622-3957. Good afternoon. What's your wish?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, a long time I didn't talk with you, God. Yes. But if you're asking about wishes that I want to see the change the school system when it comes to graduating people like in the secondary school. I would like to see the old people that are, apart from what subject they come out with, but they must come out with a skill. But that will call for some money and some good people, whether it's saxophone, trumpet, mason, plumbing, electrical thing, whatever. Children who could make the dress, make this, and they come out with a certificate in that if they want to go Wassa, they want to go any place and work where they want to go and further their study and get some further education and thing in the skills. But we are producing people with 10 subjects and they are unemployable.
Yes,
and there are some skills that we need, because if you notice in Trinidad and Tobago now, we have a shortage of musicians. So we could train musicians. We could train doing auto mechanic. We could get people trying to fix computer. But it calls for the dedication, because we would hold the people, and those young people at the age that we say 13, 14, they're preparing for their academics, but you get them in that skill, because some just paving the corridor and giving teachers problem, and some of those children will do things with their hands if you get them in that field, whereby we could reduce the people who the underworld people. That was how we save about 20%, 25% in a 5 years period. But the people we get given trouble, we ended up in prison. We could put a dent in it along that way, because they come out of school employable.
I hear you, my brother.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And let me say, the last time I speak with you, Garth, was when, they decriminalized the marijuana, and it asks you concerning who they set up to supply the plants. And if people will be growing plants to supply, they will get locked up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. No, but I wanted to pick up on that point that he made. I think, the purpose of the education system that we have is to make people employable, is to educate workers. That's the point of the education system we have now. What you are speaking about, sir, is to make all well-rounded citizens who can not just pass an exam, but who can contribute to society, contribute to their own homes, start their own business, express themselves creatively. I think we have a wealth of young people who are into the arts and who are being trained in the arts. We have a National Academy for the Performing Arts. But I do agree that we do need to expose young people to those very skills that you mentioned, the carpentry, the welding, the dressmaking, the culinary skills. All of those things are valuable to creating a human being, a well-rounded human being, not just being able to memorize facts and pass exams.
All right, so we are out on our last legs here now. So we could take one more if it comes through. Yeah? And
hello,
right,
good
ma'am, good afternoon.
Hello.
Garth and Lydia.
Yep.
Good day.
Quickly, please.
Happy Easter Sunday.
Same to you.
Garth, I want to put something to you, because I know you're a very lame man. I saw on African country where they're taking all the prisoners and let them go and plant stuff and things. And I watched that. And I said that could happen here in Trinidad, because the prisoners and them inside that they go lock up all day. And when you see people, they say, they have in the workshop. Now they could take these prisoners and carry them on. They have abandoned estates, carry them to plants and all of these things. And when they do that, they could pay them a stipend, and the stipend could go to the family. You see, this will cause them to not pick up a phone, call outside to get somebody killed or something. Because they'll be outside here doing a job. So they will be idle in the jail, lock up whole day. And I saw that in a African country. And I said, that could work. I wonder if that could work in Trinidad.
We will only hope and try and see, all right? But thank you very much for your contribution. We've got to go now. We have 1 minute left, and your voices today have been very powerful. and they've added depth to this wish list, this blueprint for leadership.
And we hope someone is listening, the relevant persons are listening, because the change does not start in the parliament. It starts right here in these conversations like the one we had today.
So we'll be back next Sunday, God's willing, 27th, the day before election, with our final episode before election day. Until then, keep talking, keep organizing, and keep demanding.
And if you joined us on Facebook or YouTube, please leave a like on the live. Thank you very much. Leave a comment and share the recording.
This has been our Dependency. Stay safe and take care of each other. Take care. Bye-bye.